Hello, Internet, and today's video is going to be a book opinion. Yes, I am going to tell you my opinion on a book. This book's going to be Odd Thomas by Dean Koontz. This is the first book in a very long series. At least I think it's a very long series. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure there's like 10 books in this. But Odd Thomas is the very first book. This I read on audiobook. And there is a movie on it, and I thought the movie was absolute garbage. I think it was good for what it was. Nothing like the book, and they just took one of Thomas's key characteristics and they ruined it, okay? I'm sorry. Don't watch the movie. Just read the book. So the basic summary synopsis of this book is we meet Odd, and Odd has a gift where he can communicate with the dead. So he gets impressions from spirits and whatever, where it's not so much they can talk back and forth, but if a ghost touches him, he can get different impressions for them, and he has been known to use these impressions that he gets to help the spirits move on to the next world or help the police find something. And when we first start the book, we meet a girl spirit, and she touches Odd, and she shares the memory of her murder with him and who her murderer is. And we see how Odd just runs off to go and catch the dude to help this kid move on, finding justice, right? But the weird thing about Odd, not just his ability to see ghosts and to communicate with them in some fashion, is that he doesn't have higher aspirations. The way he describes it is, it's already hard enough living his life knowing that he's going to contact the supernatural every day, every other day, that's going to be his life. So his aspirations are very simple, where he just wants to be the best burger flipper that he can, or one day he wants to sell tires to people. He's not seeking great adventure because his life already has something in it weird enough, and he doesn't need too much to handle. However, at the same time, Odd is just such a nice and caring person that if something weird is going on supernaturally, he will try to help. Like, he can't help but want to help, even though in his everyday life he constantly tries to remind people that he's quite content to have the most average life that one could imagine. So in this book, he sees like these spirity, like ghoul sort of things, and they are usually bad omens, where they only show up when something really, really tragic and horrible and a mass amount of people are going to die. And Odd is noticing that tons and tons and tons of these beings are showing up in his small town, and he's like, this means something's horrible is going to happen because there's some reason that they're there. So throughout this whole book, he's trying to figure out what event is happening so that he could potentially stop it so that a mass amount of people won't die. And that's the whole book. It's just him trying to figure out who came to this town is trying to kill people. Like, what's going on that there's going to be some mass murder that all these like evil creatures are showing up to witness. And one of the things that I really loved about Odd was his compassion for other people. The fact that while he wanted an average life, while he didn't want great adventure, while he didn't like have this great thing planned for himself because he had weirdness in his life already, he was still willing to give up his peace and his sanity to help those in need. He jumps when somebody over there is in trouble. He'll jump and he'll run to help you, even if he's terrified, even if that's not something that he truly wants to do. He just wants his average life. He can't help but care about you and want to assist you in some way, which is why he gets involved in this whole thing, is because he's not willing just to ignore the problem and let it go, even though he knows that it's just going to make his life more complicated in the end. So I really, really loved that. I loved how like self-sacrificing he was when it came to his own personal time and his own wants and desires, that he would do what he could. One of the things I really got mad about when it came to the movie and comparative to the book is because in the very last scene, when he finds out like who's causing all the problems or who's going to cause all this murder, and he goes to stop them, he does this really fantastic thing where he has to conquer one of his deepest fears, one of the things that he morally is against. for very good reasons that are explained in the book, and he has to push past that to give up that thing that he hates, that thing that he's so against, and actually do it because there is no other option. Because if he doesn't force himself to do something that he really rather not, people are going to die. And that idea that Odd is so willing to push himself past his own personal boundaries, things that people keep telling him, oh, you need to do this, and he's like, no, please don't make me. But when it comes to it and people's lives are on the line, he will do it. He will do that thing that he the whole time has said, no, I never want to do that, because he's willing to sacrifice his own personal comfort for the sake of everyone else's lives. And it didn't have that same impression in the movie, where you could really tell that Odd was willing to do whatever it took, no matter how much he personally hated it, no matter how much it hurt him, no matter how uncomfortable he was, no matter like what his experiences or backstory was that made him unwilling to do that thing on a daily basis. If push came to shove, he would do it for the sake of everyone else around him. So I just really, really loved his character. I loved how self-sacrificing he was. I loved how he was just a dude who wanted an average life, but that wasn't afforded to him. So he tried to take all of the average moments that he could, but at the same time was willing to sacrifice that averageness for the sake of someone else. I thought that was just very honorable. He was just a really, really cool character. Throughout this book, I want to say the audiobook was really good, which is what I read it on. So I listened to the whole audiobook. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the storyline from like him trying to figure out what event was happening that was causing all of these bad omen creatures to show up was really good and really well played out. It never felt too rushed or like too slowed down. I really liked the character study of Odd and how he reacted to different things and just him trying to solve it, because Odd himself doesn't really come across as a detective sort. I mean, he just seems like such a cinnamon roll. He doesn't seem like Sherlock Holmesian, I guess. He doesn't seem like he's always out there to solve a mystery, but you know he has the capability, and he's just such a sweet and kind person that he's going to try to figure out what's wrong so that he can potentially fix it. So that was really good. I love seeing his relationship with the people around him and the world around him, and just like how he reacted to the world and how other people reacted to him, especially on whether or not they knew about his gift. Very fascinating. I think the backstory that you hear about his like family life and then his future, where he talks about wanting to be with Stormy, all of those were really, really great components. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue with this series, simply because I feel like when I finished this book, it was really like a standalone. I could stop here and not continue with it, because I just, like, I loved Odd, but I really didn't see where I wanted to go with the series, if you know what I mean. I mean, like, I didn't see where it was going for me as a reader and as the person who likes certain things. I got what I needed from the book, and I'm not really sure I need to continue. It's not like burning in me that I need to know more, but definitely from what I read of this first book was very, very well written. I would recommend it. I think it's really, really fun if you like that ghost whisperer sort of aspect, if you like mystery, if you like little violence, if you like little cinnamon roll characters that you can't help but love because they're just so sweet, then this would be the book for you. Overall, I think that Odd Thomas was an incorruptible character, and it's very, very fascinating to see those type of characters in literature, to see those characters who have moral stances and refuse to go against them, and even if they have to go against things that that they've chosen not to do for the sake of their own comfort, how they're willing to sacrifice. I really love incorruptible, self-sacrificial characters. I think there is like a special place for them, and it was definitely fascinating to see that sort of character as the main character and not as the old mentor dude that assists the main character. If you have read this book, if you've continued with the series and you think it's worth the time, comment down below and let me know. I would be willing to continue, but I'm like so on the thought of continuing, but I really did love this first book. If you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, click all those bunnies down below, and goodbye, internet.